A growing number of current and former defense officials are raising alarms about the state of the Canadian military.
CTV National's Scott Hurst joining us with more on this story this morning. Scott, a lot of questions about, what happened to our military and also what needs to be done to fix the problems.
Good morning, Nick and Jen. According to its own estimates, about half of all military equipment was considered ready for training and operations last year. That's part of the reason there are growing calls from current and former military officials about the Canadian military and its ability to keep up with new threats. Canada is also facing pressure from allies to provide more military spending. When questioned about its commitment to defense, the feds point to a troop deployment in Latvia, new equipment like the P-8A Poseidon aircraft, long-term commitments like the purchase of new F-35 fighting jets, and $38 billion for NORAD upgrades. A step in the right direction, possibly, but ultimately it's going to require much more spending to keep up and also meet the international commitments. The conservative defense critic is calling for a massive overhaul on military procurement and how we approach national security. Here's more on the concerns from retired Lieutenant General Christopher Coates, former NORAD deputy commander.
To some degree, you could argue that the readiness of the Canadian Armed Forces has remained, well, relatively constant, but the needs have changed over time. And those needs are growing rapidly, almost relentlessly, which causes our readiness to appear to be declining somewhat precipitously.
Those needs are growing, as is the pressure from international allies to meet the NATO commitment of 2% defense spending. Canada currently spends 1.38% on defense, and despite that being an increase in our spending over the past couple of years, that still ranks 25th out of 30 NATO states. So part of the reason why there is increasing concern that the Canadian military is not keeping up with modern threats against us and our allies. And Nick and Jen, for more on this, we have a full write-up on ctvnews.ca, and we'll have much more on CTV News at 5:30 and 11 p.m.
Okay, CTV National's Scott Hurst reporting live for us. Thanks, Scott.